Hi, I'm Joe Feeks, editor of Poultry Health Today, and with me is Stephen Clark. He is a senior technical services veterinarian for Zoetis. Stephen, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Stephen, a little more than a year ago, FDA came out with new guidelines for antimicrobials, and as I understand it, the main intent of these was to try to encourage veterinarians to be more involved with antibiotic decisions. Can you tell us a little bit more about the veterinarian's role under these new guidelines?
So the government has recognized that they want veterinary involvement to ensure confidence for the consumer on the proper use of important antibiotics in food animals. And that's going to proceed with the requirement of what's called a Veterinary Feed Directive. And the Veterinary Feed Directive is going to be the documentation and of the veterinarian authorizing the use of some antibiotics in use in poultry.
So, I mean, it basically sounds like a prescription, but apparently it's something different?
Well, a prescription we understand as I can kind of write it the way I want to, and the veterinarian would actually have flexibility. But this actually is not a prescription. This is the Veterinary Feed Directive, and it authorizes the use for the producer to feed certain medications as identified by the government and the manufacturer under the by the label instructions for those flocks that's been identified in the VFD.
So we should make clear, we don't need a veterinary feed directive or VFD for every feed medication. It's only the ones that FDA has deemed to be medically important to humans.
Correct. Yeah, that's right, exactly. The government has classified and identified a list. It's actually over probably 100 or 200 products, but for our customers, it's probably going to be 20 or 30 products that they might recognize for poultry, and these products are the only ones that's going to require a VFD. The veterinarian will have to be involved. There's going to be very specific documentation that they have to fill out before that it can be filed, and that feed will be manufactured and then delivered under the order of that VFD to those particular poultry flocks.
So this really creates a direct connection between the veterinarian and the feed mill.
Yes, direct connection between the veterinarian, the feed mill, and the producer.
So, but for other routinely used antibiotics, such as ionophores for coccidiosis, for example, those do not require a VFD?
Correct. So there's certain antibiotics were actually listed and are going to require. Those products that are not on the list include our anticoccidials, so our ionophores, such as Avatec and Biocox, and then our chemical anticoccidials, such as Dacox or Zoamix, and even what was recognized as not medically important, such as BMD, bacitracins.
So walk me through the process. Let's say I'm a producer, my flock has a respiratory infection, it needs an antibiotic, a feed antibiotic that will require a VFD. What happens now? I'm a producer, my veterinarian has diagnosed the need for it.
Correct. And so the veterinarian is going to look through his list and realize that the next the best option is, for example, in the situation that you gave us, would be auramycin for the label indication of the control of chronic respiratory disease. Mm-hmm. And we realize that in this situation, only one flock needs that. The veterinarian has the opportunity to write a VFD specifically for your flock that will be for a specified amount of time, and I will sign that, deliver that to the feed mill, and the feed mill will manufacture that feed and deliver that feed along with the electronic copy of the VFD to your farm for your birds.
Now, VFDs are new to the poultry industry, but they're not new to the livestock industry. Is that correct?
Yes. Forever how long? The last several years, the swine industry has been probably the most familiar with using VFDs on one or two products. So yes, they're familiar with that and how they will handle that. Now it's going to be electronic. We're hoping the VFD regulation is not finalized. The government is expected to finalize that the end of April of 2015. And when we understand that, we'll actually have all the details on what's going to be necessary for us as the industry to follow up to get that documentation and system in place. And the VFDs are going to be required following probably December of 2016.
Okay. So what do producers, veterinarians, and the feed mills need to do now to get ready for VFD?
Again, VFDs aren't going to be required in the poultry industry until probably December 2016. And in the meantime, between now and then, we need to make sure that we have a nice relationship and start developing those procedures on how the veterinarian is going to be involved in the decision, and the Veterinary Feed Directive, the VFD, is going to follow through from the feed mill back to the producer.
Now, a company like Zoetis, you make lots of different feed medications. What is Zoetis' role in all of this?
So Zoetis is being informed on the decisions and working with allied the poultry veterinary groups and associations, making sure that the government understands what our requirements and needs are as well, and how our industry works, being integrated companies. So we've made sure that that process is well known so that we can make the VFD not be a hindrance to people, animals getting effective medications when they need them.
Excellent, sounds good. We've been talking with Stephen Clark. He's a Senior Technical Services Veterinarian for Zoetis. Stephen, thanks again for joining us.
Thank you.